Now this watch is owned by a guy called Perrett, and I wanted to understand a little bit about the history behind it, so I gave him a call.
Richard, how are we doing?
Brett, how's it going?
Very well, very well.
Tell us about the adventure with this lovely Rolex.
Well, I bought the Rolex on eBay, and at the time, when you're buying something quite expensive on eBay, you always wonder if you're doing the right thing or not. And I had that little thing on my shoulder saying, "Yeah, make sure you're doing this right." So I bought the watch on eBay from a company in the United States, and 1 week later it arrived. It was to be a gift for a friend of mine, and I didn't open it at the time because the day I was going to present it was a couple of weeks off. So on the day we unboxed it, and it looked really, really good. I hadn't unboxed it myself before. It was well packed.
So before we look at the time grapher, I just want to remind you of this, because this is the date trying to turn over at 18 minutes to 5. That's weird, because the date should turn over at midnight. Don't panic, the watch is not beating this fast. I've speeded the footage up so that you can see what's going on. So this does get a little bit erratic. Wait for it. Here we go. Let's go ballistic. Let's go from -6 to +21. And then, oh, no, let's go down. Let's start losing a minute a day. Yeah. But this is the actual speed, just for the record. So before we hear a little bit more from Brett whilst I take the back off this watch, why not take a moment to subscribe? Now that is such a good idea. It doesn't cost anything. All you've got to do is hit the little red button below the window that you're watching this video on, and that would be much appreciated.
It was to be a gift for a friend of mine, and I didn't open it at the time because the day I was going to present it was a couple of weeks off. So on the day we unboxed it, and it looked really, really good. I hadn't unboxed it myself before. It was well packaged, well protected. It was in a beautiful box, wooden box, and we left it a couple of days before it got worn, which is quite normal, I suppose. But after winding it up and wearing it for a few hours, we noticed it was going very fast, and it was running about 4 hours fast a day.
4 hours a day is a lot. It's not completely uncommon with this particular model of Rolex because the hairspring has a tendency to throw itself over its own retention stud. That was probably what was going on, and it probably unthrew itself over the same stud on its way from Brett to me, because I could not recreate that error.
So what I tried to do is ring them and have some dialogue with them about the problem with the watch running fast. And they said we'd gone past their 1 month no quibble return policy, which was normal because it was a present and it had to be gifted on a certain date. So I wasn't overly disappointed by that. So we decided to send it back. Then started the problems with getting the correct paperwork from them. So I thought, hey, just bite the bullet and just get it serviced in the UK by Rolex. And that's when the problem started, because when I sent it to Rolex after a couple of weeks, they came back to me and said that they were unable to service the item. They didn't even call it a watch. Unable to service the item because it was heavily modified with counterfeit parts.
I may be breaking my own rice bowl here, but Here's the thing. The best place to buy a Rolex is from Rolex. And the best place to get your Rolex serviced is Rolex, without a shadow of doubt. Now, the world, however, particularly in vintage Rolex, isn't quite that simple. So Perrett has found himself in a little bit of a problem here.
And this was really disappointing to me because now I'm stuck. I've got a present that I've gifted to someone, doesn't work, and now I don't know what to do with it. It's quite embarrassing, actually. So I started Googling and I found a YouTube video by yourself, and you seem to know what you're doing and you can service Rolexes. And that's how I got in touch with you, Richard.
I seem to know what I'm doing. Well, that's reassuring. I should definitely have asked Brett to do another take on that and say something like, it's really obvious that you are such a brilliant watchmaker, particularly with Rolex or something like that. But hey, you got to keep it authentic, right? That then is the backstory, and I've got the watch out of the case and just taking the hands and dial off now. The watch running that fast is not something that I witnessed, but as you can see from the time graph, the performance is wildly erratic, but there's other stuff inside here which I didn't expect to see, really. The dial retention screws are really very tiny and they have a nasty habit of falling out whilst you're doing the cleaning. So it's a good idea just to screw them in tightly at this point. So figuring out which screws to remove to release the automatic works, Rolex have made that really easy because they are the only 3 blued screws on the movement. And here's the first thing that we really shouldn't find in any Rolex that's supposed to have been serviced, because I noticed it as soon as I removed this wheel, because every watchmaker that knows this movement is looking for it. This movement is missing a jewel, a vital jewel as well. So casting your mind back to why the date was still trying to change at 20 to 5 in the afternoon or something like that, this is the jewel that controls the motion of the wheel, that controls that actions. This spring is super powerful. The first time I tried one of these a few years ago, it flew out my workshop window across the Irish Sea and landed in a guy's drink in a bar in Dublin. So whilst everyone is laughing at me in the canteen at Rolex, a big lump of Rodico is a good idea right here, right now. The mainspring holds quite a lot of power inside it, so it's important before we start messing around with the powertrain that we disarm that power and let it out under control. So I'm just moving the click to one side here, and then I will apply just the right amount of pressure onto the crown for the mainspring to wind down under control. We need now to take off the wheel that transfers power from the fourth wheel to the second hand. So I use some plastic to protect the surface of the bridge, and I have made my own little tool for grasping this wheel and taking it off the movement. Okay, time for a little bit more Rodico, because we've got another tiny little spring here for the click. It's not as powerful as the one for the yoke for the advancing wheel, but it is so tiny, if it springs off you will never find it. So more Rodico, steady as she goes. And that is a message on my phone again. So, take a break, see what that is. Oh, look at the dirt on that just before I go. Right, let me show you. This is the mainspring barrel, and this is quite a lot of dirt around it. That's not been serviced in a while for sure. If it has, the guy doing it was idle. There we are. One of the good things about being a watchmaker is that you always have access to a lot of very good quality files, so it's easy to keep your fingernails in good order. Anyway, this is my method for opening a mainspring barrel, and it's just one I developed, works for me, and we're about to see what's inside this mainspring. You have to be a bit careful when you're taking the lid off the mainspring barrel, because if you catch the arbor and pull the mainspring barrel out by accident, it's likely to fly across your workshop at about Mach 8 and maybe take your eye out. So you need to be a bit careful about that. Now, this isn't a total disaster inside here, but it certainly isn't clean. There's a lot of dried grease here. This barrel has not been serviced in a very long time, and in fact it looks like there's something a bit weird at the side of the spring. We'll know better when we have the spring out. As I thought, the mainspring is actually bent at its terminal end. You can see that there's a small kink in it here, so there's no way that this spring can go back into the movement. It needs a completely new spring in a nice clean barrel, and then we should get some good consistent operation. Sometimes with these old vintage Rolexes, owners report that they become very stiff to wind manually, and that's often because the automatic works are really just gummed up with dry lubricant. So it's important to completely dismantle the automatic works, give them a good clean in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then put nice fresh lube onto those. These automatic wheels are both dried up and seized. The inner wheel should just come out, but I'm having to knock it off with a screwdriver to release the gummed up lubrication. So this is a nice bit that we enjoy, really getting in there into this barrel and giving it a good clean, giving it a really good clean with some pegwood. There's something really quite satisfying about this. So apart from the bits that I've already put in the little cages for automatic cleaning, and I'll do the rest that you can see in front of you here, this is the whole movement disassembled. So this is what we're going to clean and then put back together again. The components actually go through 3 stages in the ultrasonic cleaner. There is clean solution, rinse solution, and then isopropyl alcohol. And as you can see, they come out minty clean. So you'll notice in the rest of the video just how clean everything is as I put it back together. So on an automatic watch, you have to put a thing called braking grease onto the inner edge of the barrel before you put the spring back in. So this is what I'm doing here. Oh, this looks nice. This is my new watch from my own brand Major, which was my rank when I left the British Army. Now, in the past, these have been made all in black, but this is the new version in steel. Check out the link in the description. So here's a good thing. Let's start the reassembly with way too much lubricant. I need to clean this up before we move on. This is the setting lever screw, and it's for some reason a really easy component to forget to put in. Most watchmakers will have done this and at some point had to strip the watch down again to put it in and then put it all back together again. So yeah, don't forget this one, and it needs a little bit of grease before it goes in. So it is a little bit tricky to get all of the wheels to have their pivots through the jewels in the powertrain bridge, but you just have to persevere with it, and you'll know when it's correct because you can just touch the mainspring barrel to put a little bit of energy through the train and you'll see all the wheels turn really smoothly and the escape wheel particularly fly into action. Now this is weird. I have not seen this before. Look at this around here. This is, what is this? This has just appeared after the component has dried from coming out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Is it glue? I can't believe these guys have glued the thing in. Anyway, there's nothing for it. It's got to come off and we need a new one. Okay, I have a nasty feeling there's some glue in here because this has stuck totally tight. So, time for Richard's special bezel lubricant. And yeah, let's boil it up again with some heat in the ultrasonic cleaner, as that will help loosen it. And then we'll get it off. And there it is. Okay, let's have a look at the crystal and the bezel itself. Okay, I would say there's no glue in there. No. Something in my cleaning solution reacted with the glass. Not seen that before. Anyway, let's move on. So here I am just removing the jewels, the capstones on the escape wheel pivots to give those a really nice clean. These jewels are really, really tiny. I'm just dropping it there into the cleaning solution. And now clean them off using a bit of agitation provided by the blower. And then pop them back in. Nice and clean. One thing I didn't shoot there actually was the fact that I put a little bit of lubricant in before you put the capstone on, and then the clips that retain them, they're really soft brass, so I tend to use a piece of plastic there onto the crown wheel. Okay, well, the good news about the crystal is that I do have a new one here with a Cyclops. So this is the right replacement glass. So let's get this fitted. There we go, there is the new glass fitted, and I think that looks really handsome. we have a new jewel to fit. Here it is. It's really, really tiny. This is the one that was missing. And here it is in the cleaner, the new jewel. We just give it a clean before we put it on. Also, the cleaner gives the jewel a little bit of surface tension, which you can see I'm using for it to stay to the end of my tweezers here. It's okay, it will evaporate. And then I just put a little bit of lubricant on the post on the end of the yoke there. And then very carefully putting the jewel on the end of the yoke. You can see when you've done this a few times how you would remember that it's important for that jewel to be there. Look at that. I'm good. And just flipping it over. That is more difficult than it looks, to be fair. Just holding it down with a screwdriver and sliding it into place, making sure all the time that the jewel remains there, because it's only been held on really by the surface tension of the lubricant, putting the jumper spring back in place now and securing that down. A little bit of lubricant for the minute wheel, and on the edge of the cannon pinion for the hour wheel, which will go on next. There it is. Okay, so now just have to move the yoke with its jewel out the way so that we can put this monster spring back on, and again a bit of plastic to protect it and lever it into place. Now you have to then push it aside so that you can get the advancing wheel back on. All of this takes a little bit of practice, to be fair. And back on with the advancing wheel screw. Remember, this has 3 lines on the top, which means that it screws down the opposite way. Just checking that that is good. And on to the sliding pinion. We're on the keyless works now, and then the clutch going in there. Just notice how clean this lot is. Quite generous lubricant there. It's part of the watch that really kind of needs that. And also a little bit of grease on the post for the yoke for the sliding pinion. Pop in the spring back on for that yoke. There we are. And skipping forward a bit here, we've now got the keyless works fully installed. Just testing it there and cleaning it up with a little bit of Rodico. Now popping back the pallet fork very carefully and putting the bridge in for the pallet fork. This, you have to be really, really careful with these. In a moment you're going to see me, here we are, I'm going to lift up the tail just to get the pivot in to the jewel. Watch this go in a second. Just a little lift and not yet. Oh, and there we are. Also, we have to lubricate with special lubricant the end of these pallet stones. Give the watch a wind, and we are putting the balance back on. This is, I always like this bit. We've put some power on the watch, so it should go when it seats properly. And there we are, look at that. Mustn't grumble. Let's put it on the time graph and see what we've got. Okay, we're at -4 seconds a day. The trace is a little bit ragged, but it sometimes is when the watch is full of new lubricants. It can take a few days actually to settle down. So time for the calendar wheel. Just putting the calendar wheel retention ring on here. And on with the date wheel itself. That just is held in place by the jumper spring, like so. And onto the dial. There's a little bit of dust there, just get rid of that. Nice. Okay, pop that back on the movement. Knock the camera while I'm doing it. Apologies for that. And just pop that down there. Okay, we've got to find where midnight is and pop on the hands, get them exactly lined up and press them home. On with the minute hand. Again, it needs lining. Takes a bit of practice that. And press it home. And on with the sweep hand. The clearance under the dial is not a lot on this watch, so the hand stack has to be quite neat, and we have a running watch. That is nice. Just get every last little bit of dust off the dial and put on the case. So, time to renew the gaskets. Take out the old gaskets. First, put some nice silicone grease on the new gaskets, and then just add the gaskets. Take out the old one. These can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but just press it home. A bit of pegwood is good for this. That's nice. Pop in the stem. And we are nearly home.